They call Las Vegas the capital of second chances. Who will get their chance at Lady Luck this weekend and end up in victory lane? Welcome to NASCAR Live. I'm Wendy Venturini. Soon we'll hear from Joey Logano. He's not even old enough to gamble, but he hopes to turn his luck around. Hermie?
Well, thank you, Wendy. I'll also talk to surprise newcomer this year, doing a great job so far, Regan Smith, and also hometown hero, Kurt Busch, later today. This is NASCAR Live, presented by Geico from Las Vegas.
Beautiful day here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, just north of the Strip. Glad you're with us here on this beautiful afternoon. Temperatures in the 60s, a little bit of wind. In fact, the weather looks fantastic all weekend long for Sunday's third race of this 2011 NASCAR Sprint Cup season. Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Burns. So glad you're with us. Lots still coming your way here on Speed from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway as we take a look at our menu. Qualifying at the bottom of the hour. Tell you who's fastest coming up here shortly. Really excited about trackside tonight. Handsome Harry Gant will join us, and Las Vegas homeboy Kurt Busch. And after that, tune in for Speed Center from Charlotte. Adam Alexander will catch you up on everything that's happening in NASCAR and other motorsports. Glad you're with us. Phil Parsons here. Phil, I know that we are no longer in North Wilkesboro because there are showgirls. There are people walking around on stilts.
Michael Jackson
Back just performed. Rollerblades, and as you said, it all seems normal.
Yeah, a little bit of everything here, and nobody even gives it a second look.
Well, big qualifying session coming up here on Speed, as we said, at the bottom of the hour. Phil, I really love this new format where the slowest cars go out first. It builds so much drama.
It really does, and we started that a little bit towards the end of the year in the Truck Series, and I think NASCAR liked it so much that they said, let's give that a try in the other series. So it's really, really fantastic, and I just love the fact that it just continues to build the drama from the first car to the very last car.
44 cars practiced earlier today. Let's take a look at who the quickest ones were. And Phil, Juan Pablo Montoya, fastest Chevy driver, 185.957.
And the only Chevrolet in the top six. The other five positions were all Fords.
Yeah, dominated by Fords, including David Reagan out of the Roush Fenway stables. He's just a little quicker at a 28.98, 186.297.
Had such a good run at Daytona. I've got to believe that this is David Reagan's breakout year.
Fords look fantastic at Daytona. And the quickest, a little bit of a surprise. We don't usually see Matt Kenseth at the top of the leaderboard in practice.
And you know he's going to be strong. When Matt Kenseth runs that well in practice and we feel like he'll back it up in qualifying, you know he's going to be strong come Sunday.
Let's go back into the Neon Garage, and we start with Hermie Sadler.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. And one of the teams that have really turned some heads so far this season, the 78 car, Regan Smith behind the wheel. 2 straight top 5 qualifying efforts. Top 10 today in practice. You guys have really got a good thing going here.
Yeah, we do. You know, the guys keep building great race cars. The Furniture Row Chevy's been fast the first 2 races this year. It was the same way off the truck today in race trim. I was really happy with it. I think we got a couple little adjustments for race trim, and you know, we got a pretty good idea where we want to go for tomorrow, and we'll see. I know where I can get a little more speed in qualifying, but I don't know how much those guys ahead of us are going to pick up, so we'll have to wait and see.
Talk about this racetrack. Turns 1 and 2 have really developed some swales and some dips, and a lot of teams are really struggling to keep the car good in 3 and 4 and still get through 1 and 2 as well. What has your practice been like, and what have you guys worked on to get ready for qualifying?
It's been about the same as everybody. First lap on the racetrack, I came on the radio and I said, man, I think my front tires just came off the ground in 1 and 2. That's how bad the bumps felt. So, you know, they just keep getting a little worse and a little worse each year. And, you know, we just work on the cars to manage those bumps and try to get around them as good as we can. And, you know, that's where people that are a lot smarter than me figure that stuff out for sure.
Well, these guys have really gotten off to a good start this year. Got a top 10 finish at Daytona, had a fast car last week, and another one here in Las Vegas this week. Wendy?
Thanks, Hermie. A guy that was fastest in Cup practice, Matt Kenseth. Good to see you on the top of the board. So tell us about your race car. What did you get a feeling out of this racetrack this afternoon?
Well, the racetrack seems a lot rougher than what it was last year, but our Crown Royal Ford had a lot of speed since we got here. Jimmy, Mike, and Nick and them guys worked really hard on trying to get us some speed, and we know how important qualifying's been lately. So we got a good lap in practice, which puts a pressure on me not to mess up our qualifying laps. There's nowhere to go except for backwards from the top. But I'm glad we got that speed, and hopefully I can do my job here in an hour or so and get a good lap in.
How much do these bumps affect your race car? Obviously, we've had 2 smooth racetracks that we visited. Our third track, a little bit more bumpy this week.
Well, it affects them a lot, especially, you don't have a lot of travel, and with the timing of the bump stops and all that, you really got to work on that to get it through the bumps. And I was watching Nationwide cars earlier, and it looked like they drove really bad and were really bouncing around the track. So that's definitely something you have to work on here.
All right, Matt Kenseth, 2 wins here, Steve, in Phoenix and Las Vegas. I'll get my cities right, hoping to make it 3 this weekend.
That's okay, Wendy. I almost said Valley of the Sun. Let's take a look at the top 20 here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Phil.
And you see, this is 11th through 20th, so these guys will actually, Jeff Burton will go out 16th, and then each car above him will go out after him. Great qualifying format. You see Paul Menard, another one of the RCR cars up there in the 11th spot. Jeff Burton down at the bottom of that list, another RCR car.
And Phil, as you mentioned just a moment ago, a lot of Fords up there in the top 10.
There sure are. 5 of the top 6 in Fords, and then we've got you got Juan Pablo we talked about in third, then a couple more Chevrolets, Tony Stewart and Regan Smith that we just heard from, and then we have a Dodge, Brad Keselowski in 9th.
And I think, too, looking at that list, you have to be impressed with the Roush Fenway cars, how fast they are. And Carl Edwards, I know he was disappointed last week. Phil said he had the fastest car by far on the racetrack, and you don't usually hear race car drivers say that.
No, that's right. But Carl Edwards, they turned their season around towards the end of the year, and they're on it. All those guys are on it. David Reagan had such a good shot at winning Daytona until he got black flagged. Carl finished second, so it would not surprise me for any one of those 4 Roush Fenway cars to get to victory lane.
Marcus Ambrose also quick. We'll take a break and come back with more from the Neon Garage here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Remember, bottom of the hour, Sprint Cup Series qualifying on this fast 1.5 miles.
NASCAR Live is presented by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com for a free rate quote. Brought to you in part by Hamburger Helper. 1 pound, 1 pan, 1 tasty meal. And in high definition by Funai. Funai, fun and innovative. Experience more at funaiamerica.com.
The Nellis Air Force Base located right behind the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and that would be your basic stealth bomber landing at Nellis. Now that's some horsepower.
Oh yeah, a lot of horsepower.
That's some horsepower there, Phil. NASCAR Live presented by Geico through 2 races in this season. Phil and I are going to take a look at what a difference a year makes. Phil, we've come to expect the big one at Daytona. We had the big one at Phoenix too.
I don't know that I've ever seen a bigger accident on a 1-mile racetrack than we saw at Phoenix. But look at this now. These are the top 9 plus 14th and 15th in points. And this is where they were last year. The highest of that bunch, Kurt, who's now at second, was 11th. Most of those guys in the 20s.
And Phil, as we were talking about earlier, a direct result of the 2 big wrecks we've seen. And it's got guys like Joey Logano, Greg Biffle, David Rudiman in a pretty deep hole early in this season.
Yeah, I think it's too early to push the panic button because you know how strong these teams are. You know they're going to turn around. It's just a matter of not just putting some consistent runs together.
Back to the Neon Garage and Hermie Sadler.
Yeah, guys, and one of the people y'all are talking about is Kurt Busch. You looked at it, second in points right now behind only his brother, Kyle Busch. He got a top 5 at Daytona, finished 8th at Phoenix last week, and found himself in a good situation in the points. Now, Las Vegas obviously is the home track for Kurt and Kyle Busch. Only 31st fastest in practice. He wants to get his first career Sprint Cup Series victory at his home track here at Las Vegas, but just had a few words with Steve Addington. They still feel like in race trim the car's pretty good. A little bit tight through turns 1 and 2, off of turn 2. They can continue to work on that, but first order, what's really worked for them so far this year is having good qualifying runs and being able to start up front. So they're working on the qualifying session here, and interesting thing, and you guys mentioned it, talking about points. Different perspectives here on the points of those guys who got off to a good start and those guys who are way down in points. They don't really know when to hit the panic button because we've never seen this new point system play out over a number of races. So a lot of chatter in the garage area about the points. Only 2 races in, Steve.
Yeah, thank you very much, Hermie. Phil, I think that's a great point. I mean, I asked Carl Edwards about this. I said, if you're your teammate, Greg Biffle, do you show up to Las Vegas to win, or do you have to stop the bleeding? And he said, hey, look, we're always going to show up to win, but you may not pull the triggers hard late in the race and ruin a good finish.
Or maybe gamble, gamble on fuel or something late in the race. I think once you get some races under your belt, maybe get a little bit of cushion. But remember, with the new chase situation, you can get a win. You can be 19th in points and have a win and get in that chase. So people also have to think about that. But I think, again, way too early to push the panic button.
But, then again, Phil, I think to Hermie's point, what we don't know yet is the overall impact. We know that if you finish 30 or worth, you've had a tough day points-wise, but this is still a moving target.
Oh, it really is. Nobody exactly knows, hasn't done the math to know exactly where they need to be. I mean, before you could say, okay, you need to average 127 points and you'll be in good shape. Well, now they don't know what that's going to be. I mean, they can figure out that finishing position, but the way it fluctuated before with a 5 points difference, 4 points and 3 points, they don't exactly know where they're supposed to be.
All right, well, tomorrow, the Rolex Sports Car Series thunders into South Florida for the second Slayman race of the year. Fenders banging, emotions run high. Don't miss the Rolex Sports Car Series live from Homestead tomorrow at noon on Speed. NASCAR Live is presented by Geico. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to have NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying for you here from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Joey Logano off to a sluggish start at the start of this season. He was 23rd at Daytona, had an engine problem last week in Phoenix, finishing 33rd. Wendy Venturini has more on that.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, Joey Logano definitely wants to turn his luck around here in Las Vegas. I said you're not even old enough to gamble, but regardless, how much do you want to turn your season around starting with this third race?
Obviously, we do a lot. Vegas for me is one of my favorite racetracks. We always had good runs here. I think back when I first started, it's probably where I had my first pretty good run. So I was excited about that, and always excited to get back here. Home Depot Toyota is pretty fast, I think. We worked really hard in practice, though. It didn't unload right where we needed it to, but the guys did a really good job getting this thing pretty quick, and hopefully find a little bit more speed for qualifying and try to get up there on the front row. I feel like I got a really fast race car, though, and I think in race trim is good.
When you say it doesn't unload quickly, we know what that means, but explain to the race fans, what do you work on in that hour and a half that you had with practice to try and get it faster for you?
Whatever your problem is at the time, for me, I was really loose. I was loose everywhere, and the big thing here is getting over the bumps. The bumps down on 1 and 2 are huge. It seems like it gets worse every time you come here, so to be able to get your car to turn good over that, because eventually you have to race over those things. So they did a good job getting it good over that, though. I feel like I'm pretty confident in what I got right now. We just got to find some luck this year. That's our biggest problem we got to figure out.
All right, sounds good. And hey, I did hear you had a middle seat coming out here on your flight. If anyone is watching, somebody give Joey a little bit better upgrade there? A middle seat, son?
Times are tough. Someone's got to do it, I had to get out here somehow. I wasn't going to walk, so I take the middle seat. That's okay with me.
All right. If you were on the flight, you saw a young Joey Logano in the middle seat, Steve.
Wendy, I don't know what's going on here, but Trevor Bayne had a middle seat as well, but he was able to score a window seat before they took off. Now, drivers looking for luck. Wendy just talking to Joey Logano. There's a long list of some big names there, Phil.
For sure is, and it's almost just the polar opposite of the list we saw before, the top 10 in points and where they were a year ago at this time. It's just the opposite here. And Joey Logano finished last year so strong, so everyone really thought this year was going to be his year, maybe to get that thing in a chase. And certainly he's not out of it. We've talked about that the entire show. But a couple tough weeks so far.
Hey, Phil, this is a good racetrack for Joey Logano to turn things around, get his luck headed in the right direction. Started 6th, finished 6th 1 year ago, and I'm guessing that makes a driver feel good about this place.
Oh, without a doubt. Anytime you can come back to a racetrack that you've had some success, you just really get you up a little bit, And for Joey Logano, that's what he needs, another 6th place finish here, or 5th or 7th or whatever. Just start getting the ball rolling in the right direction.
Gain some positive momentum. Boy, this is a lightning fast racetrack. Well, right now we're going to leave the Las Vegas Motor Speedway and shoot it back to Charlotte, North Carolina. AA Adam Alexander is in Speed Center.
All right, thank you so much, Steve. I know you guys have been busy in Vegas. We have been busy in the center as well, and we begin with some breaking news today out of the IndyCar world. Firestone announced it would pull out as the series' sole tire supplier at the end of 2011. Goodyear among those being mentioned as possible replacements. Robin Miller joins us on Speed Center tonight at 9:30 with much more on this story. In other IndyCar news this week, Sam Schmidt Motorsports has acquired all the assets of Fast Racing, meaning Alex Tagliani will drive the entire 2011 season for Sam. And remember last week, Joey Saldana racing his sprint car at Texas, goes up and over. No problems in Vegas on Wednesday night. He gets his first win of the year. Steve Kinzer won last night. So who can stop Scott Pruitt and Mimo Rojas in the Rolex Sports Car Series? Tomorrow in Homestead, they go for their 5th consecutive win, and they will start second behind Gainesco, who is on the pole. A big night right here on Speed. We've got Speed Center at 9:30. More NASCAR Live after a break.
It's race time at Walmart. From official gear to snacks for race day, you'll find everything you need. Gear up, stock up, and save. Let's go back into the Neon Garage. That is not Jeff Hammond on those stilts. Just looks like him. Hermie?
Yeah, catching up, Denny Hamlin, the FedEx Toyota, going through inspection here, and you can see they got a little bit of a project going on, and we've seen this with 4 or 5 cars today here at Las Vegas, not just with this car. But basically, NASCAR says the rear end housing can only have 2 degrees of camber. We've seen cars come through 2.1, 2.2, and what they can do to try to fix it at the racetrack is heat and cool the rear end housing quickly to try to get that move back in up at the top to get it within tolerance. A lot of things can affect that, not only the camber that's built into the housing, but also air pressure in the tires as well as the sidewall of the tire. We've seen 4 or 5 cars come through today and have to do the same kind of maneuver to get through inspection, but NASCAR says it cannot be 2.1, it cannot be 2.2, it has to be 2.0, so Denny's guys trying to button this back up and get him through the line for qualifying. Phil?
Thank you, Hermie.
Hey, you know, Phil, we talk at Daytona about qualifying. At Daytona, qualifying your position isn't that consequential. At Phoenix, it is a big deal. You want to be in that top 10. Interesting to note, though, about Las Vegas, a lot of the winners have come from outside the top 10.
It really is an amazing statistic, and obviously Jimmy Johnson has won twice on the old track and twice on the new track. And to me, anything that happened prior to 2007 really doesn't matter, because the only similarity between this racetrack and what we had before 2007 is it's in the same location. But right now, this is a great racetrack, but you can see the average start of a race winner is 14th. Jimmy Johnson in his 2 wins started way back.
Yeah. Interesting note, too, speaking of Jimmy Johnson, talked to Jeff Gordon on Race Hub this week, Phil, and he talked about knowing that Alan Gustafson said it was the best car they'd ever had leaving Hendrick Motorsports, yet when they got to Phoenix, they didn't have any speed in it. Jeff didn't, his starting position was 20th.
You know, what's really amazing is with the simulation programs that they have today, they can simulate these racetracks. Obviously last week simulating Phoenix, and so it's amazing that they would really start off a little bit off, but they kept getting better and better and better as the week wore on, and then obviously we saw what happened Sunday with him in Victory Lane.
He still has the heat, doesn't he? Said he has something to prove. Hey, qualifying at the bottom of the hour here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We're in the Neon Garage. Stay with us.
NASCAR Live is presented by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com for a free rate quote. Brought to you in part by Little Debbie Snacks. When you share the fresh taste and goodness of a Little Debbie snack, you share a smile. And brought to you in high definition by Funai. Funai, fun and innovative. Experience more at funaiamerica.com.
Wednesday, don't miss the most talked about new car building show on TV. Car Warriors, sparks fly and tempers boil over when a team of hotshot challengers race the All-Stars to build a tricked-out El Camino from scratch in only 72 hours. Car Warriors is all new Wednesday at 9 Eastern here on Speed. And Phil Parsons, I know somebody that wants a tricked-out El Camino.
Chris Devoda.
Chris Devoda has it bad for an El Camino.
Steve, I couldn't do it in 72 days, much less 72 hours.
I keep asking Mike Joy to bring home a 67 Camaro from Barrett Jackson, put it in his luggage, but he hasn't done it yet. Back to the garage and Hermie Sadler.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Step out on here to the grid as we get ready for qualifying. And as I look out here on pit road, one of the things that's interesting so far today is stickers versus scuffs. I walked down through the garage and out here on the grid. It looks like about a 50-50 split between stickers and scuffs. A scuff would mean in practice you'd go out and run a corner or a lap to knock the new off the tires. So I asked one of the crew chiefs here in the garage, why so much disparity between stickers and scuffs? And he says stickers are better, except some drivers were having trouble on the get up to speed lap. So when the cars leave pit road, coming through 3 and 4 to get the green flag is just as important as the actual lap you take for qualifying. So the guys that could get up to speed right away on stickers are sticking with them, and the drivers that needed to get rid of that little bit of a squirrely feeling coming to get the green have gone with scuffs. It'll be fun to watch what happens with that during qualifying. Wendy?
Hermie, we're still getting used to our new routine here on the qualifying day. Of course, they start with the fastest guys going towards the end of qualifying. So our fastest guy in practice was Matt Kenseth. He'll go out 35th. Going out 34th in front of him was second fastest in practice, David Reagan, followed by Juan Pablo Montoya and another Roush Fenway Racing car, Carl Edwards, right in front of Juan. So you could tell who was fast in practice since we only had one practice. By the way, they're lined up. It's inverted, of course. This is something to get used to the qualifying order, but definitely some trickery in the garage. This is a story we've been following over the weekend. What are teams doing to get that one fast lap to get them to go towards the end of qualifying? Because we know, Steve, the advantage of going at the end of the day can make a big difference where you start this race.
Yeah, it certainly does, Wendy. And again, a stat that Phil and I found, 8 of 13 races have been won from outside the top 10. But Phil, not to underestimate the importance, pit selection is still an important aspect of the race.
Boy, it certainly is, because there are only just a handful of really good pit positions on this racetrack, on this pit road, and those guys want that opening. That's very, very critical. You know, I think Hermie made a really good point. You know, when you watch qualifying, you watch the telemetry. When a car gets to the line and he's tracking in the 30s, it's so hard for him to gain on that. So I think Hermie made a great point. That get up to speed lap is so important. When a guy's up to speed, when he gets to start finish line to start his lap, then he's going to have a good lap.
Jimmy Johnson has won 4 of the last 6 races, and as Phil and I were looking before we came on the air, he's won 2 of those on the new configuration, 2 on the old. And we say configuration, it went from 12 degrees of banking to 20.
Real racetrack now.
Yes, it is. It's fast. Well, it's time to find out who the fastest of the fast is. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We go upstairs and join Mike Joy.